In this video, I'll show you how to use your IO forecast interpreter to create a transit interpretation and a list for anyone that you'd like to create one for. First, with your program open, if you already have their natal chart saved, which will quite often be the case, you'd go to your library, go to the file in which their chart data is stored, double-click it to open up that chart file. From the list, select the individual. You can see that I've already selected Eric Clapton. He's highlighted, but I could click and select anyone else. Okay, we'll go back to Eric. This tells the program that this is the individual's natal chart for whom I'm going to create the forecast and interpretation. Okay, so with that done, we can go to the top of the screen, select Forecast, Transit Search, and it opens up the Transit Search setup window. As you probably know, each of the interpreters has a separate setup window from which you select those things that you want to include. Now, I've already set up the dates for this. If I hadn't, I would go in and enter the dates just as you would in a data card. You can enter the month by numerically, or you can enter it as it's displayed here. Use your tab key to move from field to field. Just like in the data card, it will finish the formatting for you. And yes, to our friends outside the US, if your system is set for Euro date formatting, it will accept that and display it appropriately. Now, this is very important. You see the time zone down here. Now, an individual born one place may not be at in that place when you're for when you're going to do the transit report. So you need to make sure that you're entering the proper time zone for the location where they intend to be. Otherwise, the aspects occurring and the interpretation will show the time based on the birthplace time, which wouldn't be correct because, for example, Eric was born in England, but he'll be in LA, so you'd want to do PDT for this time period. You can look up your time zones through your atlas, of course, and determine what the time zone is for the dates that you're looking at if you don't know already. Now, the next thing we'll look at are the transiting points. You select the transiting points by clicking them on or off. If they're not boxed, they are not on. They will not be reviewed. If you want them on, you can click to put the boxes back around them. You may want to look at just the outer planets for the longer searches, because remember, the longer your search period, the more information you're going to get. Static points, same thing. Click them on or off. If they're on, they're boxed. That means that they will be searched. Now, next thing, the aspects. This program, the IO forecast program, looks at the primary and the most important aspects. We've discovered over the years that if we include in an interpretation all the available aspects, that it becomes overwhelming, it becomes confusing to the average reader, and it's not something that they can act on. If you happen to have IO Edition, of course, you can activate these others, but the interpretations include the primaries to give this an immediacy and something that people can actually use. If you would like to display house ingresses, you'd click House Ingresses. It will show you when the date and time that the ingress occurs, and if you would like, you can tighten your orb settings to look for a shorter space in time and space, or you can expand it. Now, you've set everything. Let's show you one other thing. Say you are creating a report and a list for someone for whom you don't have a saved natal card. Then you just create a new one. You go to File, select New Chart. You'd enter their information. Let's go ahead and do it. We've selected the chart type, the zodiac system, and the house system. And we're going to do Bob. I'm tabbing, you see, to go from field to field. Sample. You always have to have something in the last name box, so make sure of that. I'm going to enter the date. I'm going to enter his birth date, 07 space 20 space 1960. And I'm going to hit the tab button. And yes, again, Euro friends, if you are using Euro formatting on your system, you can format accordingly. And you see it formatted the date for me, the time, 11 space 08, it's hours and minutes, space AM, or PM, of course. Don't enter any other information. You don't have to use the punctuation. Hit the tab. It formats it for you. The city, Santa Cruz. Tab, California. I could use abbreviation just CA. Let's go back and do that. can just do CA, or you enter the country here if it's not a state, of course. Now I've told the program what kind of chart, I've told it for whom, I've told it for when, I've told it where. Click the Atlas button. If there were only one obvious location, it would enter it, but in Santa Cruz there are a couple possibilities. I'm picking the main city. I click Insert. It puts in all of the proper information that I need. Now whether this is saved or not, I can then move my hand, my cursor, to some point where there's no text or a text box, and you can see it becomes a hand with a piece of paper behind it. I can click down and hold. As I begin to move it, you see it forms a chart icon. I bring it over to the Transit Search Setup window, let go, and I have Bob's sample. Now, Bob is just a sample, so I'm not saving him. I'm going to just close him, not save his chart. And I want to get back to Eric Clapton, so I'm going back to Eric's name in the file. Click on it, hold, drag, let go, and I have Eric Clapton. I still have my dates set, I have my time zone, I have all my points set where I want them. First thing I'll do is create the list, and we'll shrink that down some. And it's a short period, so these are the significant aspects that are occurring for that period. Now, the next thing I want is the interpretation. So I'm clicking Forecast, and there I have the interpretation of Eric's transits for the month of April. And let's see how many pages we have here. We have 8 pages, so it makes it something that is really functional for an individual, and it will help guide them through the month. So if you're familiar with the program already, you know that each of these buttons represents a different preset format that you can modify as you become familiar with the program, and in another video we'll show you how you can do that, so you can make the backgrounds of the page the colors you want. You can change the glyphs, colors, do whatever it is you like. In the actual interpretation, you have the same thing, and you have one that's preset to a two-sided printing format if you want to print, and in this you just open the format window, and here you can select the fonts for the titles. You can select the fonts for the bodies, you can select the size, you can decide whether it's bold or not. You can actually set the colors for the titles, the body, page. You can set your margins, decide if you want it right rag or justified or whatever. If you're doing that, let me show you one thing that you want to be aware of. Say I'm changing the title color. I'm going to click on that, and there are several ways to select my colors here. I'm going to pick the easiest, and I'm going to just turn them black for the moment. Click OK. Now, important, remember to click Apply. And you see when I click Apply, then it applies the color that I've selected. Let's change it back to what I wanted, and that is this maroon. Click OK, click Apply, and I have my color back. Okay? And remember to hit OK when you've finished, of course. So I have my transit list for April for Eric Clapton, timed to when they occur in Los Angeles. And I have my report. To save either of them, same procedure as any other chart or report in our programs. Make sure that's highlighted. Select Print. And PDF is the recommended format for saving. You can also export, of course, export as a JPEG or something. But if you're sending it to an individual, the most readable format in the world today is PDF. Whether you're on a PC or a Mac, you can read the PDF. If the recipient happens not to have the Adobe Reader, they can get it for free. But most systems now come with it installed automatically. So under PDF at the bottom left-hand corner, I select Save as PDF. I name it Eric Clapton Transit April. And I can select where to save it. In this case, I want to save it to my desktop. So I'm going over to the left here. I'm going to select desktop. You can set up a folder with astrology reports. You can set a folder up for individuals in your documents on your desktop. You determine how you want to save these. Just remember, name it so you can find it. I'm saving it to my desktop with my other reports for Eric Clapton. So I'm saving it. You see it appears on that. I do the same thing with the list. If I want to see it, I double click on it, and in preview it opens up in a PDF, and of course I can expand it, contract it, do all that kind of thing. And you can export from your preview as well. So the best way to send your reports to anyone is as a PDF file. That's about all there is to creating the reports and saving the reports so you can send them to clients or customers or friends or whomever, and enjoy your IO forecast